bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami. So we come to this brief exposition on Patthana. It's quite, as I put down here, it teaches us the conditionality of mental and physical phenomena. What does it mean? We have already studied in Abhidhamma these 89 or 121 types of consciousness, cittas which can exist, 52 types of mental factors which exist. It tells us the interrelationship between them. How do they influence each other? You can see the possibilities. And the interrelationship is not of one kind. It's not a cause and effect relationship. It is a conditionality of various kinds. And those conditionalities are identified to be of 24 kinds. So you have 24 types of conditionalities between 121 consciousness and 52 mental factors. So you can imagine how many permutations, combinations there are possible. And some of them are possible, some are not possible. As you remember, we have seen that lobha and dosa cannot exist together, and similarly of others. So it's a very, very complex issue of understanding. It is said that Buddha reflected on this in the what's called the Ratna Hut, Ratna Kuti there at Bodh Gaya for 1 full week. He was there for 7 weeks after enlightenment in different places. And they said that when he was reflecting upon it, his whole body was irradiated with different colors because he could see the complete constitution of the whole cosmos, how it is formed and how it is destroyed. Now, obviously, I've studied only to the extent I could comprehend. I'm presenting to you. I've studied whatever was available, material was available to me.
So we are still following Acharya
Aniruddha's not exactly. Aniruddha's has combined Patthana into certain groups for sake of these conditionalities into certain groups for the sake of simplicity. We are doing it fundamentally. 24 relations each. I'll do each one of them separately, then we'll talk about groups as Acharya Aniruddha has done. So I'm following other books of Patthana which are available on the net, mostly written by Burmese scholar monks. And there are in Burma, 2 traditions. I think it will be good to recall. One is the tradition which believes that meditation is sufficient and by itself it will give rise to panya. Basic study of Four Noble Truths and dependent origination is sufficient. We don't need to study more than that. But there's a tradition also which believes that before meditating, people should study Abhidhamma, not just Sutta, not just basics, but Abhidhamma should be studied. Pauk, Sayadaw, jo aap keh rahe hain, he is one of them. And you will be surprised to know the Dada Guru of that is Lady Sayadaw.
Is it?
Yes.
Lady
Lady Sayadaw also advised his students to first study Abhidhamma and then meditate. That was a big news to me.
हम कहाँ अलग हो गए?
हाँ, but वो उन्होंने फिर monks को जैसे पढ़ाते होंगे ना, तो फिर householders को जो पढ़ाया उसमें क्या हुआ वो मालूम नहीं मुझे. But I read it in those books that among the tradition, एक research paper था, among the tradition of Abhidhamma masters, Lady Sayadaw is the topmost of course.
I had no idea
He's
that
the
he was a
topmost,
scholar as well. I thought he was a household.
No, Lady Sayadaw was a monk. Nah. Sayathat was the householder. Lady Sayadaw is the sort of icon of this Sayaji working tradition. He is the person who taught first householder. Otherwise, householders were not taught meditation. But he was a great scholar, you know. So the Patthana, I have also followed his exposition on Patthana. There is a exposition on Patthana of Lady Sayadaw, which is available in the manuals of Dhamma. So I followed that also. That's very crisp, but there are others which are very great descriptions are available. And whatever I could figure out within our zone of application, because our idea was from the point of view of meditation. They are, you know, it's like an ocean, you know, kind of conditionalities which are there.
बिल्कुल गोदी की ट्रांसलेशन इसकी नहीं है, पठान की
नहीं है. पठान की ट्रांसलेशन बहुत पुरानी है, वो PTS वाली है अवेलेबल. उन लोगों ने तो किया हुआ है. So those two translations are available. Quite good, because these Pathan translation is quite straightforward. When I'll read, you will see, you can easily understand. So the understanding is possible by reading that from. If you know Pali, you can understand, translate it. But then figure it out in depth. You must have a complete understanding of Abhidhamma. So whatever we have studied about process chitta, which we studied in last few interactions, you know, how the process chitta arises, how the bhavanga chitta arises, then this gets arrested, then the vithi chitta arises, then javana chitta arises. So all that is a prerequisite for understanding Patthana properly. That's why we delayed it so much, so that we could have a general idea. We won't remember everything, but we'll have a general idea कि ऐसे ऐसे होता है. Then we'll be able to understand it better. Otherwise तो बिल्कुल सिर के ऊपर से निकल जाएगा. इसीलिए जब हम सुनते थे तो हमें समझ में नहीं आता ना. जब we listen to it in fifth day में आता है ना Patthana, जिसको वो जो morning chanting में गुरुजी सुनाते थे. And there is a bigger Patthana which Sayaji Vakhan's chanting is there. And there is also chanting of Goenka ji on complete chanting, which is about 1.5 hours of Patthana Padi chanting. So we'll study that. So I focused on those things primarily because they are the comparatively easy to understand. And they have the relevance to our practice. So I focused on them. So what is Patthana? Basically, it explains the interrelationship between the ultimate realities. As I said, Chitta, Chetsika, Rupa, Nibbana. What is the interrelationship between them? And it examines it in great detail. Cause and effect and relationship between cause and effect and so on. Notes कैसे खुलेंगे यार? Why can't I see the notes?
से वैसे कर लो, जनरल में तो नीचे आ जाएगा.
तो मैंने इसको शायद डाउनलोड नहीं किया. मैंने इसको डाउनलोड नहीं किया, वो डायरेक्टली मेल से ही मिल रहा है. बिकॉज नोट्स में कुछ चीज़ें लिखी हुई है ना मैंने.
सो मेल का व्यूअर हो.
हाँ हाँ, तो मुझे सारी मेमोरी में नहीं रहती.
आपके इसमें है यूआरएल नोट्स वाले.
हाँ, वो मैंने डाउनलोड नहीं किया था ना, तो मैं ऐसे ही चेक कर रहा था उसको, तो इसलिए उससे पता नहीं चला. आपके उसमें दिख रहे हैं क्या नोट्स?
हाँ वैसा है तो नीचे है. There must be a way to view the notes.
Yeah, there
parallel
is.
to the full slide, no?
जब करना is to open it in the PowerPoint application. There is a PowerPoint viewer in the mail directly.
True, I understand.
That doesn't show the.
So Rajesh, even while transmitting, while your presentation is being made, is it possible to actually read the notes parallelly? फिर तो वो डिस्टर्ब कर जाएगी ना स्क्रीन.
नहीं वो सिर्फ प्रेजेंटेशन स्क्रीन पे प्रेजेंटेशन आती है और आपकी स्क्रीन पे दोनों आते हैं.
सीखना पड़ेगा.
Actually, notes are meant for that only.
I understood that intellectually. I could never apply it. So I was always keeping handwritten things with me. So the display screen is called something else. When you do it full screen, कुछ और करना होता है उसमें साथ.
हाँ, I think उसमें ऑप्शन होती है शायद नोट्स की. किया हुआ एक बार मैंने देखा हुआ तो बोलता है.
So in this diagram, if you see, there is what's called a conditioning state, and there is a conditioned state, and there is that interrelationship. If you recall Pachitta Samutpad, there we say avidya pachaya sankhara, isn't it? So it means avidya conditions sankhara. Sometimes we think it means avidya is the cause of sankhara. That's not correct. Avidya is only conditioning sankhara in a particular manner. Now what is that particular manner? That is explained in Patthana. Pachitta Samutpad doesn't explain it. So that particular manner is to be understood. Because that is what is meant by conditioning force, which is in the diagram which I have put down there in the diagram. Can you see that? तीन जो box बनाए हैं. So the conditioning state is there. Avidya, for example, conditioned state which is Pachaya Uppanna is avidya Pachaya Sankhara. But what is this Pachaya? What does it Pachaya mean? What is the manner of conditioning? That is explained in Patthana. That doesn't come. So the finer subdivision into the kind of conditionality is being explained in Patthana. So everywhere this is true. In all the links of Pachitta Samutpada and in all the links of our daily life, we can see that. So it says how this conditioning is operating. What is the manner of conditioning? So sometimes it is called conditioning mode, sometimes it is called force. In Pali there is a typical word for it, Pachaya Sakti, which means the force with which the transformation is done. And the whole idea you can see is that there's no me involved in anywhere. It's happening because of its own way. Things are there. There are certain conditions, there are certain forces, and certain results are produced. We are nowhere in the picture, so that is whatever little doubt you may have, we get cleared about it. So, though normally we call it cause and effect, I think it's better to call it conditioning and the conditioned.
So, Siddhesh, question, isn't conditions based on past karma?
No, this is not in that sense. It is in the sense of manner of relationship. So it's not conditioned from the point of view of karma. Karma is also one of the conditions actually. Okay.
So Pacha Upanna is the effect.
But जो पच्चे से उत्पन्न हुआ, पच्चे उत्पन्न means whatever is arising because of that conditionality. Avidya जैसे है, avidya is the conditioning. Avidya पच्चया sankhara, sankhara is the pacchaya upanna. And the mode is pacchaya is that has to be found out. Which mode? Is it a hetu? Is it a root? Is it a object? Is it a co-arising thing? Is it a past arising thing? So many other things are there. So these pacchaya sati or conditioning modes are of 24 kinds. So you would recall having listened to these things, which is in the 26th slide I have written. Hetu pachayo, arambana pachayo, adipati pachayo. So all those 24 conditions are these. So in the chapter in the Abhidhamma, in the Patthana Pali, I have taken out that excerpt. Abhidhamma Pitake, it's in Patthana Pali, it is Tikpattanam. That's called Tikpattanam. So first of that is Pachaya Uddesho. Pachaya Uddesho means what is the proposition? What are you trying to tell us? So it's a kind of a summary. So that summary I'll recite for you. Hetu Pachayo, Arambana Pachayo, Adipati Pachayo, Anantara Pachayo, Samanantara Pachayo, Sahajata Pachayo, Anyamanya Pachayo, Nissay Pachayo, Upanissay Pachayo, Urejata Pachayo, Achajata Pachayo, Asevana Pachayo, Kamma Pachayo, Vipaka Pachayo, Ahara Pachayo, Indriya Pachayo, Dhyana Pachayo, Magga Pachayo, Sampayutta Pachayo, Vipayutta Pachayo, Athi Pachayo, Nathi Pachayo, Vigata Pachayo, Avigata Pachayoti. These are the 24 conditionalities, 24 ways in which these realities influence each other. Generally, if I may use that word, these are the 24 ways in which these realities influence each other.
गुरुजी सब बताते हैं ना उसमें
हाँ ये रिसाइट करते हैं
ना
रिसाइट तो ही करते हैं This is what is recited, but the implication is not understood. We are not told what does it really mean.
So that's just as a digression. Do you, of your own understanding or otherwise, know if Goenkaji himself studied the Abhidhamma?
In once he had, at our request, he had given a talk in the teachers' meeting on that, but then that was not. He himself didn't like it. Then he got it deleted. Actually, it was recorded, but it was deleted. So he must have studied definitely, because in Burma it's a tradition of studying. So it's taught in school. So to what extent he studied, I don't know, but it is part of. There are proper exams of Abhidhamma.
Correct. So I understood.
Proper exams are conducted. Then they are given certificate of this section, that section.
But in his lineage, this is not given that much importance. So
because they are focused on for householders, for meditation, and the focus is on now on worldwide. So this is not being given importance. Yeah.
But that digression seems to be much recent vintage, as far as I understand. That's what I have now gathered.
I wonder ये कहाँ चला जाता है? I'm not able to handle it even now. When I say download history, it does not appear. Isn't it amazing?
In downloads?
History, I have downloaded it. I can't see it here in the download history for today. Where it comes and go. Where does it get stored? I don't know.
Any question? इसमें notes खोल दो, notes खोल दो।
खाली है।
इसमें इस स्लाइड में
Slide में नहीं होगा।
बाकी में है।
Anyway, I think I remember roughly. That's okay. So we'll go ahead with it. I think I need to give up that attachment to notes. So we'll study it. Okay. So these are the basic issues which you got to, which is the basics of it. That table gives all the 24 conditionalities which I have just recited. Now let's go to the next one. I can see it there. So next, the very first one is Hetu. Now Hetu means the root. So what are the roots we have studied in Abhidhamma? If you remember, let me ask you. What are the roots which the mental factors which are the roots?
काम लोभ
and
Six. तीन ये हैं उनके, वो भी थे पॉजिटिव भी, अलोभा, अमोहा, अदोसा. So these six are called roots, hetus. So when the conditioning is done through them, they condition things in according to root. And root means very strong conditioning. That example is given of the roots of a tree. So if the roots are there, the tree will be strong, and everything else, the rupa, chetsika, everything arises from that in conformity with the roots, which we know. अगर दोष जागा है तो फिर तो दोष के ही सारे रूप जागेंगे, उसी हिसाब से चेहरा बन जाएगा, उसी हिसाब से वाणी हो जाएगी, उसी हिसाब से एक्शन होंगे. So they are supposed to be the strongest. Now what does it mean by strongest? Means they firmly get entrenched in the psyche. So then the explanation is given, a brief explanation. पहले हम brief करेंगे, and then the detailed explanation we will do afterwards.
this is roughly what personality is, isn't it?
Yeah, this is what influences the personality strongly. Most strong influence इसी का होता है.
अच्छा, इसका उससे क्या sorry.
फिर इसका मतलब पता ही है कि दोष जग रहा है, देखो ये हो रहा है अपने शरीर में, सब पता है.
वो चेंज हो जाएगा ना अगर हम समझदारी से
गुस्सा आएगा तो आवाज भी भारी होगी, ये सब पता है.
तो अगर हम नहीं, एक तो हुआ कि हमको बुद्धि के स्तर पे पता है.
हाँ,
दूसरा है कि जब ये हो रहा है तब हम जान रहे हैं, and then we slowly come out of it. So let me read out to you that portion. As I said, we'll read firstly this shorter one.
So
which
ये
then the longer one.
जो root है ना, how is this related to that चित्ता हुआ at the time of death वाला जो आप बताते हैं?
हाँ, वो तो
I forgot the name.
that is the च्युति चित्ता जो and the पटिसंधि चित्ता. तो च्युति चित्त से पहले जो कर्म विपाक जागेगा, depending on that, whatever karma arises, it could be lobha predominant, it could be dosha predominant. Depending on that, you'll get the next
But
one.
sir, it would be that which is the root, almost.
Yeah.
Almost implicitly.
Yeah, one of them will be governing it. One or two or three, depending on whatever is the situation. There can be one of the roots present, there can be two roots present. We will come to
The
that.
predominant root is only one, as I understand. That's what determines your personality.
Yeah, but sometimes two can also be present. No? You may have alobha and amoha both present. Alobha and adosha in positive sense. No? Alobha and amoha can be both present. You have only moha present and you are deluded. So the people who get into delusion and psychic disturbances, probably moha is very strong at the time of patisandhi. Then there can be moha and lobha. Moha to hoga hi hamesha hi na. With unwholesome chitta, moha will always be there. So it will be moha plus lobha or moha plus dosa. In the positive sense, it can be alobha and adosa together. So these are the things which are two-rooted. So it is stronger. Then there is three-rooted. Three-rooted would be alobha, amoha, adosa. So positive one is the strongest actually. So if all the three roots are present in the psyche, you will be born in a extremely pleasant realm with a very good features, with very good abilities, and then so there is a statement somewhere that a person, if he is born in the absence of amoha, please note the word carefully. In the absence of amoha, he may have alobha and adosa, but amoha is not present. Then a person born with that background, patisandhi chitta, will not be able to get enlightened in this life, because that basic root of panya is not strong enough to be raised to the.
सारी वो भी खत्म हो गई
नहीं अब आपको कैसे मालूम? आपको कैसे मालूम?
नहीं तो मोह तो चल ही रहा है ना
ना
अब मोह तो पूरा दिखता नहीं
नहीं at the subconscious level क्या है? When you were born, at that time, what was the patisandhi chitta? That is being mentioned, not otherwise.
But can we know about जब हम पैदा हुए थे कि हमारा सिद्धि चित्त क्या था? अब उसको बैठ के
वो नहीं हो सकता.
वो क्या था आप इस समय जो परेशान हो रहे थे?
उसका कुछ नहीं कर सकता. So let me read it to you. What is hetu? Hetu Pachya का जो brief Pachya निर्देशों means exposition of conditions. So this is the first level exposition. There are this kind of expositions are there spread all across Patthana. So many expositions. So we'll first read this one, then if need be, we'll read the other later after having done all the 24, the brief ones. So here it says, Hetu sampayutta kanam dhammanam tam samutthananam cha rupanam hetu pachayena pachayo. So this is the brief exposition on Hetu. What does it say? Hetu sampayutta kanam, hetu with associated, sampayut means जो associated dhammanam, जो dhamma उसके साथ associated है, and tam samuttanam cha rupanam, and those rupas which arise based on that which are produced by them, they hetu pachayena pacha. They are related to that by the hetu condition, by the root condition. So he says the roots themselves are related to dhammas which are associated with the roots and the matter produced thereby by the root condition, which means they are the strongest dependencies, conditioning which is arising. So basically, what is the conditioning factor here? Conditioning factor will be the 6 kinds of mental factors which are the roots which we know already, which we said, lobha, dosa, moha, and there are 3 antonyms. And what are the condition factors? Condition factors means pache upanna. It will be the whole of the gamut of dhammas which can arise. It means the root associated consciousnesses, all the consciousnesses with roots, then their concomitant mental states and the physical phenomena generated by them. So all that is the conditioned factors. Everything else is arising because of that. And conditioning mode is the root condition. This is what is called the root condition. Okay. The roots we already know, we already discussed the roots. The analogy which is given is like a tree. So the whole tree of Nam Rupa is supported by these hetus. They support the stem. The example is given, the stem is the chitta and all the branches which are the chetsikas and the leaves which are the rupa dhammas. So you can see that if you want to tackle all the dhammas and all their interrelationship, it's mind-boggling. It's impossible to really for anybody to understand it. That's why it is said that anybody with lesser than Buddha cannot figure out all this, what's going on, what kind of relationships are allowed, what will be not happen. You can just see the numbers themselves are so large. 24 types of relationships between 121 chittas and 52 mental factors, infinite, virtually can build up infinite combinations of them. And some of them are permitted, some of them are not permitted. And one should have that insight into them, which is permitted and which is not permitted. Now these roots they support the related dhammas, so that's why they are called root conditions. And I have put down in the notes a statement from Lady Sayadaw, you can read that. Greed having firmly, just to explain it, greed having firmly established itself in the desirable things and drawing up the essence of pleasure and enjoyment from them, it conveys that essence to the concomitant chetsikas, till they burst into immoral words or actions. Simultaneously, it results in production of corresponding rupas.
So that's not,
And same thing will happen with other, this is with the lobha. Similar thing will happen with dosa, similar thing will happen with moha and so on.
But why is this limited to words or deeds?
Actions, what else?
Volition?
वो तो है ही, that is the cause of it, ना? Basically तो start तो वहीं से होगा ना? Concomitant chittas, chetsikas. They are the concomitant chetsikas which will arise.
पर यदि वो वोल्यूशन के स्टेज पे ही रुक जाती है तब क्या हो रहा है?
Roots so normally they are very strong. Unless you see them arise, the chances of if you are mindful, then you can really.
No, but they may not manifest. ये जो लिखा है यहाँ देखिए ना, burst into immoral words or deeds. That manifestation of the root volition may not occur.
Unless normally the roots are very strong.
Also, the manifestation will occur.
Lobha, if it arises, unless you catch hold of it at the outset, it's said that if the lobha arises, it will manifest in some form or the other. Some action, it could be vocal action, it could be the action of words, or physical action. So the roots are supposed to be very strong. So if they arise, they will, unless you catch them immediately at the arising itself, at the inception itself.
Silesh has a question. What is the Dhamma here?
Dhamma means the qualities which arise. All the chitta, chetsika, rupa, they are all dhammas. That we studied, no? They are all dhammas. Nibbana, they are all dhammas. So here we are talking of the dhammas which are conditioning and dhammas which are conditioned. So conditioning dhammas are these roots, 6 roots, and conditioned dhammas are the chetsikas which can arise, the chittas which arise, the various kinds of chittas with roots. So we'll see them. I think in the next slide I have put that. You want to stop?
नहीं सर आप करें हम थोड़ा जल्दी निकल जाएंगे.
We'll just stop at it 5-4 more minutes. We'll stop at ये पूरा हो जाए हेतु, so then we'll stop. So the various combinations of roots are single root, double root, and triple root. Triple root is only one, which is a positive one. Then what are the examples? You will see in the next slide. There is a dana, shila. There are necessary roots for them. For dana, the root is alobha and adosa. So if one is giving dana when these things are not present, then it is no longer dana, it is something else. It is an investment. So if we are offering $1 million to charity, I have written in notes, if you see, for fame and gain, it is not dana, because alobha and adosa are not present. You see, amoha may or may not be present. That is a different issue.
But because that happens only because of amoha not being present.
No, a person would not have the true quality of alobha. In fact, there is lobha when you are giving. There is a lobha कि मुझे मेरा नाम लिखा जाना है यहाँ पे.
अच्छा, उस दान का क्या हो जिसमें you are trying to secure your karmic DNA of the future? ये भी करते हैं. ये थाई वाई में तो बहुत चक्कर है.
हाँ, so it has obviously of a lower potential.
है ना? ये भी negotiated ही है.
ये बता तो नहीं, तभी तो कहना ना, study of Patthana reveals to you the truth. It reveals what is going on inside, especially hetus. Every action के हर एक action के पीछे क्या हेतु है वो हम समझने की कोशिश करेंगे, तभी पता चलेगा कि वो action pure है कि नहीं है. शील आप क्यों पालन कर रहे हैं, दान क्यों पालन, शील की भी बात हो रही है, नॉट जस्ट दाना.
तो दरअसल शील में क्या वो हो सकती है? What could be
You want to show off that मैं तुमसे ज्यादा अहिंसक हूं भाई. तो मोटिवेशन अलग है ना उसका. तो एक्सटर्नल तो शील पालन नहीं हो रहा है, बट मोटिवेशन ये है दैट आई वांट टू बी बेटर देन यू.
सारा फिर बेकार ही है,
उस सेंस में तो बेकार ही हो गया.
बिल्कुल बेकार है, कुछ उसका परिणाम ही ठीक है.
तो बिल्कुल रूट पे जाएंगे.
बेकार ही होगा अगर उस तरह से
अब
करेंगे,
वो
ध्यान भी करेंगे उस तरह से तो भी बेकार.
सोचना पड़ेगा, मतलब सब चीजें करते समय भी.
So that's how why the Patthana is very helpful, you know, when you break it apart and see क्या हो रहा है. So when we do theft or tax evasion or sexual misconduct, obviously it is governed by lobha and moha strongly. When you get angry, it is dosha and moha which are operating. So
But sir, isn't it better to follow the sila even if there is this feeling to chalo main sab दूसरों से better शील पालन कर.
Obviously from social point of view it is good. It is being pointed out from the point of view of karmic effect. It is not saying that therefore you should be. It's not, ये नहीं है कि तुम चोरी करना शुरू करो. Police is there to take care of you anyway. मतलब अगर हम शील का पालन भय के कारण करते हैं तो वो भी सचमुच में शील नहीं होगा, बिकॉज उसका रूट ठीक नहीं है.
It's still better than
doing it ना, obviously. अब अगर मोदी जी के डर से लोग टैक्स जमा कर रहे हैं वो भी ठीक ही है, लेकिन वो फिर उनकी चैरिटी उसमें नहीं आएगा. वो इट्स नॉट बीइंग डन आउट ऑफ गुड वोल्यूशन, इट्स बीइंग डन आउट ऑफ फियर.
जो है
तो जो कर्म का जो हमारा फल होगा वो तो कुछ और होगा ना. कर्म का फल तो इससे नहीं होगा, बाहर का जो कर्म है उससे तो नहीं होगा ना. उसके जो पीछे वोल्यूशन था, जो उसके पीछे मेंटल फैक्टर था, वो डिटरमिन करेगा कि क्या होगा.
जो आजकल कंपनीज में CSR चालू हो गया है,
It is all like that. CSR is also like that only. But in some cases it may be genuine.
कुछ
में है, genuine भी है कुछ में.
वो तो ऐसे ही करते थे.
टाटा तो 100 साल से कर रहे हैं. टाटा तो 100 साल से कर रहे हैं. उसका वो टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट बनाने का क्या पर्पस था? उसको पैसे थोड़ा ना कमा रहा था. It was not a world school. It was sheer donation. Motivated by a saint. So that gave him that feeling. Next क्या है देख लें. I think it's this end of it. Last time मैंने ऐड किया क्या? हाँ, वो उसमें मैंने डाला था. Just to give you the complexity, I'm not going to discuss it. Just to give you the complexity, how the analysis is done. अब हेतु पच्चय जो है रूट कंडीशन है, उसमें टोटल 89 में से 18 तो रूटलेस हैं, तो वो तो हट गए. तो 71 रूटेड चित्ताज हैं. उनमें सिंगल रूटेड कितने हैं, डबल रूटेड कितने हैं, ट्रिपल रूटेड कितने हैं, फिर उनके साथ के चेतसिका क्या होंगे, फिर उनके एसोसिएटेड रूपा कैसे बनेंगे, कम्मा से, कॉन्शियसनेस से, टेम्परेचर से, न्यूट्रीमेंट से. ऑल दिस इज डिस्क्राइब्ड अंडर हेतु पच्चय in various sections of Patthana. Of course, we did not go into that, but I just wanted to give you a picture of what is the kind of complexity which is involved in the presentation.
काफी कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं होगा इसलिए.
समझ नहीं
अभी तो start हो रहा है.
मतलब बड़ा ध्यान से समझना पड़ेगा.
But उसका impact बहुत strong इस sense में है that you are able to, if you are mindful and if you know that the roots are going to be different from the external action, then you are truly mindful while doing an action. तब आपकी mindfulness की level बहुत क्वांटम चेंज हो जाएगा. बिकॉज फिर आप एक्सटर्नल एक्शन पे नहीं जाएंगे. Then you penetrate and reflect कि कौन से रूट से काम हो रहा है भाई. So that is the great advantage of this from the point of view of meditation and from the point of view of daily life. What actions we are doing in our life. Investigate and find out what is the root behind it. Because every action will have a root. It's not possible that action can be done without root. If you remember हमने पढ़ा था ना, so we'll stop here. If we have studied, you know, if the chitta doesn't have it is a, क्योंकि जो प्रतिसंधि चित्ता होगा, it will be a विपाक, कर्म विपाक होगा ना. तो अगर जो लास्ट चित्ता से पहला, जो श्रुति चित्त से पहला कर्म जागा है, उसमें रूट्स नहीं है स्ट्रॉन्ग, तो वो भी अगर विपाक चित्त जागा है, तो the person who is born will be born deformed, will not have all the abilities. So if the roots are not there at the time of Shruti, there will be a deficiency in the structure, because the consciousness is not strong enough to form the next being.
So deformity of what sort, Dasa?
It could be physical.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Mental, physical. That's mentioned there. तुम थे नहीं यहाँ पे, पिछली बार हमने डिस्कस किया.
टॉक्स ऑफ सुनने में रिकॉर्डेड है ना, मैंने लिंक शेयर करेंगे.
दो हैं.
So we were discussing that last time आया था, जो मैं बताता हूँ.
तो दसा फिजिकली कैसे मैनिफेस्ट हो सकता है जो कमी है?
Because वो कौन सा पर्टिकुलर स्टेट है, किस तरह का, मैंने वो एक बनाया था ना, ये टेबल बताता हूँ. This is mental state 19, जो हमारी स्टेट्स थी ना, उनमें 89 में से this unwholesome resultant mental state performed the person of Bhavanga for being in the four woeful states. Then the next mental state was 27 is one which is a rootless chitta. Okay, if it is a rootless chitta, for this it is a wholesome resultant mental state. Okay, but it is rootless. So what will happen? Let me come out to the final one जो आप पूछ रहे थे.
Oh.
जैसे same as this mental state 27 जो है यहाँ पे investigating consciousness with indifferent feeling. That is the description. So this wholesome resultant mental state performs the portion of Bhavanga for beings with congenital defects, who are born blind or other defects. The mental state is also rootless. It does not have any wholesome roots or unwholesome roots, because it is rootless chitta, which arose at the time of just before death. So it is also, it has its wholesome basis, but it doesn't have the roots. And since it doesn't have the roots, the person is born with congenital defects. So this kind of relationship of the Shruti Chitta and the Kama which arise before that and the Patisandhi Chitta is explained in that. We didn't go into details, but I just mentioned it.
It's almost sorcery.
So what is therefore suggested is that when we practice, we be mindful, more and more mindful. More and more.
Okay.
सर इसके अंदर
Any question?
there was a question from me. The triple rooted के अंदर what does SSFMS mean? You mentioned SS, FMS, IMS, SP.
These are the states. No? These are the various kinds of chittas which can arise with three roots.
PPT खोल लो.
हाँ उसमें देखना पड़ेगा मुझे, एक मिनट.
PPT खुली
Let me just recall.
खुली हुई है.
Sense sphere. SSS is sense sphere. Okay. FMS is fine material sphere, Roop Loka. Then the other one was Arup Loka. So जो उसकी states हैं वो भी सब three rooted है ना. So जो देवलोक में होंगे या ब्रह्मलोक में पैदा होंगे वो दो, they are all three rooted चित्तास. तो सेंस स्फीयर में तो वही है एक जो हमने डिस्कस किया.
The first one is the 12 is sense
सेंस
sphere.
स्फीयर.
And in this double rooted, 8 are this Lobha and
Yeah.
Moha,
लोभा वाले होंगे और दोष वाले होंगे.
and 2 are Dosha and Moha. And in 4 plus 4 plus 4, this is a combination of Alobha and Aldosha.
Yeah, that's right.
4 plus 4 plus.
So these are, I mean, those details we don't have to bother really. The
Okay.
key thing to be learned is, that's why I said this I've just put, I will not put it in others. I just wanted to show you the complexity of the whole thing. Because people, so that one can develop reverence for the achievement of the Buddha. That for us to understand is difficult, and for one to expound it, what does it mean really?
नो वंडर वो ग्रो कर रहा है.
Yeah.
इतना अगर वो कर दिया है तो ग्रो ही होगा और क्या. चिंगारी उंगारी नहीं की मुझे साथी में. और यार.
पटाखे.
वो पे फूटे शुरू हो जाते हैं.
So we can see how the roots Pachaya operates. So this is the. Now the interesting thing is that these 24 roots will also not, these 24 Pachayas are not operating in isolation. In day-to-day life, they operate in groups. So it makes it even more complicated. So only when you are really mindful can you see where you are getting trapped. Because there can be a kind of make-believe mindfulness. हाँ मैं देख रहा हूँ मुझे मालूम है क्या हो रहा है ठीक be happy but the Panya will not be there. If Panya, you remember about this, we had seen Sati was one of the universal wholesome mental factors. When Panya was not there, it was Alobha and Adosha were present. When there is Alobha, Adosha, then there will be Sati. First thing is this, which we have to recognize.
तीनों होंगे तब पन्या होगी.
जब वो दो होंगे तब सती होगी. सती नहीं होती. Actually, most of the time, what we think we are doing Sati Patthana, we are actually only practicing attention. Most of the time, we are practicing attention. Because Sati has to be Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanasam. That's why he says Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanasam. So we'll stop here. Any question we can take, otherwise we'll close the session.
Meenakshi is saying, Meenakshi is saying the details of Moha, Lobha and Dosha.
She was not there, na? So उनको उसका link, you can give you the link of past.
So Meenakshi ji, I'll share you the
PPT
videos and PPT which are there in videos are there in YouTube, and PPT I'll send you via email, and then you can refer to that.
एक्चुअली सीक्वेंशियली लगा देना चाहिए.
थोड़ा सा ऑर्डर
इस बार तुमने बहुत अच्छा किया है
कि पुरानी
सेशन 1 सेशन 2 ऐसे अगर रिपीट लेबल करना ही है तो तारीखों के अनुसार आ रहे हैं.
Sure, Silesh, I'll do that. Sure, I'll share it with everybody. Okay, thank you everybody. We'll meet next time. 31st, you're having session. You're having full day session. And 31st
Saturday.
is Saturday. ठीक है. We meet on New Year. We meet on New Year.
First.
Okay.
Good. So we meet on New Year. Yes.
Thank you everybody. Have a good time.